It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Monday, Gary, what's going on?
Just a little.
Just a few things.
I can't even get through the headlines, and this isn't even the Babylon Bee headlines. I just was printing a bunch of different stories, and we print stories just in case the computer goes down.
Mm-hmm. If
the computer goes down, then boom, we got the stories here. But just reading here, just from National Review, I mean, I was just dying laughing. Different articles. Rock hypocrisy in the real world. Blinken parrots Neil Young's schizoid politics.
Yeah.
Jim Acosta and the laziness of elite opinion. Behold the newsman who never says or thinks anything new.
Yeah, right.
Stand firm, boomers. The student protesters actually are idiots.
There you go. True story.
Wow, what a weekend.
Yeah.
I just I have to just scan here real quick. I'm just looking at the Babylon Bee here. See if there's anything interesting here. Now, those headlines are better than the Babylon Bee has.
All right.
I will say this: the MTG, I almost said MTV, MTG Representative Crockett back and forth went super viral over the weekend.
Yeah,
and all I could think of was, remember the time when all you heard was, if women ran the government, it would be so much better.
Yeah.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, it's drama back and forth. I'm reading an update on some breaking news, but sorry about that. Yeah, it's, the drama on the back and forth. My dad was talking to my dad on Saturday. He said, he goes, is it me, or is just everything over the last 3 or 4 days just completely elevated in the back and forth? I said, nah, we're becoming Parliament, in the UK. By the way, I'm okay with that. Shout at each other all the time. Do it on the floor. Go back and forth. Do it in committee. Do it anytime you're in front of a camera. I'm all right with that.
Tell us what you really think.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. No, go full on. By the way, I was saying that about the GOP, saying, look, the GOP coming together, especially in support of the former President Trump on trial, has been, I think, very positive. And you and I have been talking about going back to when Matt Gaetz was bringing Kevin McCarthy down and all of that. And it was, from the beginning, look, you're not changing the makeup in the GOP. What you have to do is you have to change the hearts and the minds. And that's up to the GOP, the entire party. We've had many problems with the GOP. And I'm okay with infighting. It's almost as if people wanted to say, hey, don't you think they should just all stop fighting? No, I don't think they should stop fighting. I think they should fight for what they believe in, but they should come up with new remedies. And you can shout at each other in the hallway. I don't care if you shout at each other on the floor, but you get it together. You bring a vote together. You show support for each other. You get elections done. It's clear that, at least at the time, I would love to see a poll in Matt Gaetz' district. But at that time, he believed he was asking, or he was doing what the people of his district were asking him to do. Now, apparently he wasn't doing what Trump agreed for him to do, and he found that out the hard way. But the fact of the matter is that the infighting, I love the infighting, not just because it's great popcorn moments. I love the infighting within the GOP or within members of Congress, especially when it's crossing the aisles. Because what I don't want to see again, ever, is the, crossing of the aisles, the reaching, let's reach across the aisle. Now, every time you did, you got your hand slapped, or it meant that the GOP was going further left. And we point to the former Senator, the late John McCain, for doing that in the Senate way too often. Those are things that I don't care for because it moves the GOP further and further left. Now, these days, I think everyone's trying to make a name for themselves. I think in the GOP, especially, you're seeing a number of them. I think they're trying to get these super viral moments. I really think that's part of their plan. And by the way, if it's on the issues, if it's on spending, if it's on whatever they're about to vote on, if it's on whatever they're whatever they're addressing in a committee, I'm okay with that. As long as it's not about the, strictly self-serving. It's all going to be self-serving to some extent. But when it's strictly self-serving, I tend to believe that, that's the step that I don't care for those viral moments. I don't need it to boost your social media presence. I need it to boost the economy. I need it to boost the security of the nation. I need it to boost certain things that benefit everybody.
Here's what I view as the problem. There is no reason to debate like MTG.
Mm-hmm.
We know
right.
We know what the Democrats are going to do. We know they're going to be childish.
Right.
If they're going to be childish, there is absolutely no reason you can smoke the Democrats on every single major issue. You are. Stick to the issues. Don't be a child.
Yep.
End of story.
Yep.
Don't argue like a teenager. Republicans, don't argue like a teenager. And yeah, but the Democrats, right. The Democrats act like children because they can't win on the issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick and tired of Republicans going, well, if they argued like that, we should argue like that. No. Because that takes you off. It deflects from the concentration of the fact that you can smoke them on every single issue. And you know what's better than anything else? You know what I see the most enjoyment from Republicans and independents? When a solid argument is being made. I'll give you an example. Tell me anyone, and I'm giving you an example of somebody who's a lifelong Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Show me where anybody will seriously attempt to debate Jonathan Turley on the legal issues that he brings up with Trump.
I haven't seen anyone try and counter anything that he's saying. Typically we see this. You remember with John Solomon when John Solomon and Sarah A. Carter when they were working together at Circa News. My gosh, this goes way back, and they were two journalists that started to break the whole thing on the Russian hoax thing. And John Solomon then moved on. She moved on. Sarah A. Carter also moved on, doing her own thing. He's now doing his own thing too, but he also, along the way, was writing for The Hill. And of course, The Hill can't have, any truthiness. And so there was this attempt, to go at Solomon for getting things wrong. And it's, I'd have to go back and refresh my memory. There could have been a couple of things, in all honesty, that he got incorrect or went back and corrected. I'm not sure. But they really went after him to try and scandalize him. And I haven't seen any of that at all with anyone who has defended on the legal things, on all of the legal matters, Donald Trump. When you look at those, every single one of the legal points that are made, whether it's Turley or Andrew McCarthy or any of these that are going out there, and these are not people, especially Andrew McCarthy. If you follow Andrew McCarthy, just in recent weeks, he's written about the fact that he's not a Trump supporter, and you can see it very clearly. He's not a big Trump supporter. He's a supporter of the law. Now, you and I there have been a couple of things along the way where we disagreed with him. He's got experience as a prosecutor, but we still disagreed with him on a couple of points that he's made along the way. But the fact of the matter is that the left has nothing. There's no one going after trying to, and typically what they'll try and do is break down the person first. They'll try and scandalize them. Well, they have, this kind of history or that kind of history or this kind of, and they were caught lying once in third grade and, they were punished. Their parents were called to the school. I mean, they'll go back as far as they need to try and scandalize any of them. And that's the tell when they come in at them. The fact of the matter is that everybody on the left knows this entire thing with Alvin Bragg against Trump is a sham. The entire thing is just a sham. And there's no way to take someone like Jonathan Turley down. There's no way to debate him honestly.
If you debate on the issues, you cannot lose.
Right.
Do not let the Democrats at all take you off that game. But MTG has been like that from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boebert's been quiet now since she's facing much tougher races. But don't like the style of how they do things, because when you can win by just talking to the average American and saying, here's what they think about the issues and here's where we are, you win every time. I'll give you an example. The whole thing of going after the Kansas City kicker. Did you see Bill Maher? Like we did, the thing that was targeted most was where they called him a misogynist because of what he thought about what he was talking the Catholic Church preaches on marriage,
right? Yeah,
and on reproduction. Well, he's a conservative Catholic talking to conservative Catholics.
Yeah,
but it's not. And what I found interesting, the media. Especially, and I will say this, liberal single women that I know went absolutely crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely crazy about it. They weren't there at all. I've never seen a peep from these same women. It's like 5 women that I know. These are personal women that I know that are liberals.
Right.
Who went, number one, they could not have read what he actually said, number one. Number two, none of them ever have spoken out about the misogyny of the liberal radical transgender movement, something that is actually hurting women.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Kansas City kicker, Butker never said that you must do this.
Right.
He talked about the teachings of Catholicism that talked about the contentment that solid marriages and getting married and having children bring to a life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's viewed as radical to the left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you saw there's the backlash the other way. That's why that story's gone this week. It's not going to go anywhere. But Bill Maher read it and he goes, what's wrong with this? He says the option is your career, but there's another option, which is marriage and kids. And he goes, that's been the history of the world.
And
it's just like
he never said, women, you should stop right now. You should not seek a career. You must be a mother. You must be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Yeah. I mean, that's what the left wants you to believe he said.
One woman actually said, I never, single her whole life, I never got the opportunity to be married and have that kind of life. Well, then are you implying that you're sad that you didn't? I mean, I don't know where you're coming from on it. It simply was talking about the joy and the lifelong satisfaction of being married and having children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's what Catholicism believes. There's no surprise in any of this. It wasn't like he brought anything new to the table.
Right.
And it was like the blowback of liberal women like that I saw. It's like, well, number one, he didn't say that. Number two, he wasn't criticizing you for being single if you weren't able to find a mate. He was simply talking about the options that exist out there, and marriage and having children is another option.
I think they're also
that should be reconsidered as being a great option.
I think they're also very angry that he's not anti-Semitic. Why can't he hate Jews like all of us on the far left do these days?
But none of them, and I know because I know these, none of them a peep about what's going on with women in sports.
No. It's, in fact, they're the ones championing men coming in and taking your daughter's spot on the team.
You see, I think it was Oregon State track meet. The guy won, and you can hear all the boos.
Yeah. It's, again, the left believes the far left believes they're going to win this, and they're losing it. The further this agenda goes, the worse it gets for them. I don't know what November 5th looks like. I really don't. But it's the first time that I've looked at an election this far out and say to myself, one of the possibilities is a clear victory for the GOP. Again, possibility. We'll see if that happens. But part of the reason for that would be this agenda over and over again.
We've got a great show ahead. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. When it comes to truck maintenance, sometimes it's the little things that can cause the most trouble, like cabin air filters. When properly serviced, cabin air filters provide a barrier between pollutants and harmful particles outside and your HVAC system. If you don't pay attention to them, however, this small part can turn into big trouble in no time. Breathe easy when you know which warning signs could indicate that your cabin air filters are clogged. A dirty, musty smell throughout the entire cab may indicate your cabin air filters are oversaturated and need to be replaced.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. A lot of coverage of Biden at Morehouse College. And, man, I mean, he's just on a roll of lie after lie after lie. Mm-hmm. Here's one he said the other day. This has been debunked so many times. Here we go.
Today in Georgia, they won't allow water to be available to you while you wait in line to vote in an election. What in the hell is that all about?
That's a lie.
That is a lie.
That's a complete lie. And again, he's at a black college, and what he's doing, again, is lying about the Georgia election law to create hatred, to create racial hatred between people. That's what the white Aryan nations do. That's what the KKK has done. And that's what Joe Biden has done. That's why when we say he's a racist, that's why we say it. He doesn't care about blacks. He doesn't care about anybody. He doesn't care about Americans. He only cares about power, and he will lie to do that.
Yeah, it's the only way, again, and this is the problem with him being out there. Those lies are quickly fact-checked. And we don't need Glenn Kessler at the Washington Post to do the fact-checking anymore. We can do that on our own. That's a lie. It's been a lie since the beginning, since before the bill was passed into law. It's a lie now, and it's the kind of lie that, again, he wants to take you back to the 40s or 50s or even further in this country. And the fact of the matter is that if there's anything racist going on, it's exactly what you just heard from the president, because that kind of lie is done, as you said, Gary, to instill fear into people and to motivate them racially.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I'm just looking at the New York Post here. Kevin Williamson's column. Sorry, President Biden, those inflation numbers totally suck. That's the headline.
Yeah.
And he, by the way, I did do a search. I gotta do it again. This just popped into my mind. I did a search early yesterday for the super core inflation numbers for April. I couldn't find them anywhere.
I didn't see them over the weekend either.
I saw them for March, but I didn't see them. I don't know if they come out afterwards or not.
Yeah, and I don't know if that is a monthly or quarterly. I'm not sure if that report is monthly or quarterly.
Well, the one I saw said for March.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. You may be right. They might have just said it was for March, but it was quarterly. That's a great point.
Yeah, we'll see.
But brings up the point that we did, saying, look, you talk about 3.6% core inflation over the 20%, over the 20% that prices are, and that's what people are dealing with, and that's what the media isn't talking about.
Yeah, and I said it last week. The celebration, at least according to a few analysts, on the April inflation numbers really tended to be in terms of the Dow and what how the market reacted, was more of a celebration that they on their median forecast that they got it right, because they were spot on except for one part of that report, one small part of that report, which was off just slightly. One of the things that you and I look at is, okay, and I said it the day before the report came out. I said, look, if this report comes in and the median forecast is spot on, it's not going to be good. And there were analysts that were countering what was going on with the market, just kind of questioning why the market would be acting so positively. And there were a number of things there. You saw some earnings reports that came out and all of that. But a big part of it was because they finally got something right on the median forecast. Well, you can't really, if you look at where it is, roughly, I think annualized, I think it's at 3.4, maybe closer to 3.6. So far, inflation. Again, that's not going to be acceptable as the new normal. And prices still going up at that rate, especially when we take a look at super core inflation for that first quarter, which was working on a rate of 8% if annualized in that first quarter. That is huge. That's a problem. And pricing is becoming a problem with a number of the retailers. It's certainly a problem with restaurant owners. The word coming out over the weekend that Red Lobster filing for bankruptcy, and they're looking to sell the business. And we'll see, I guess, what happens in that. That's, if you think about it, I think that's aside from the point. Red Lobster had their problems, their menu issues and staffing issues over recent years. COVID was not a big help in that regard, and certainly inflation was not a big help in that regard. So, but neither of those carried, I don't think, the brunt of the weight of what happened to Red Lobster. You look at now the entire picture of where people are and what they're going to be able to afford to do and what they're not going to be able to afford to do. Now instead of planning for a summer vacation, you're planning on getting a second job or a third job, trying to find out how many jobs basically you can hold down under one in one household. And the gig work, is kind of back and forth. The gig work, if you're talking about things like DoorDash or Uber Eats or any of those types of gigs in what was a gig economy for a while, there are a lot of people that have to readdress it and look at it and say, well, I don't know how much money I can make at that. Is it worth the driving in the traffic, the wear and tear, the gas and everything on my vehicle, and all of these things? And so then you get back to, again, working the old-fashioned show up in person part-time job. And there are a lot of people, or a lot of companies, rather, that are looking to hire right now. You know, they're looking to hire, but many of them are looking to hire and fill in gaps. I saw a couple of stories over the weekend about how they just can't find qualified people. You know, they're looking to train people, and they can't find qualified people. They don't want to find, they can't find people that want to show up and work. One of the industries, you know, the home improvement contractors. You used to find, they used to be able to find people who could come in. You could kind of be an apprentice. It was kind of an apprenticeship, whether you were painting or doing odd jobs around a home. You learn how to do that for, 3, 4, 5 years, and maybe you go out and start your own business yourself. And now they've got to where I was talking to one contractor over the weekend who says their problem is finding people to show up, and then when you do find people to show up, have them finish a job, because you don't show up, on most home projects. If you've got to hire out, they can't show up. They usually don't show up and get that done in a day. It's usually a matter of days. And so trying to get people to show up and finish a job is becoming a problem. And you and I asked the question, all right, where is that threshold? Because it was the work from home thing that was left over from COVID. And we said, well, at some point, people are going to get hungry. They're going to need more money. They're going to have to get back to work. They're going to have to realize this is something that Walmart's told their corporate office employees, moving a lot of them, laying off some of them, and telling them, yeah, we want to see your face in the place. There will be very limited work from home going forward.
There's a story. I think Fox had the story of hush vacations that people that are working from home are taking.
Yeah.
And and that's one of the reasons, like, they'll take off for 3 or 4 days and just not let the boss know. And
right.
You and I always said that eventually people would come back to work. I know the office complex where my dentist is located is huge. I mean, just huge. And the parking lot is huge. Well, during COVID, I would go in there, and a parking lot that probably holds a parking lot and a parking ramp that I would guess holds maybe 1,500, 2,000 vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
The dentist office was open 10 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I couldn't find a parking space when I went a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
It took me like 5 minutes to find one, way out. I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like everybody is back. And it took a while because, even 2022, 2023, you would sit there and like, okay, people aren't all back yet. And all of a sudden, boom.
Well, there's a weird mix in our area in North Texas. There's been for years, some will tell you that, and I'd be one of those, that there was an overdevelopment of commercial property. And it's kind of a weird dynamic because corporations that move to your area often want to build their own buildings. One of the things, in fact, going back to the Red Lobster story, one of the things they did is their investment company, one of the investment companies that bought them several years ago, sold off their real estate holdings, and then so that meant that they became tenants. They had to pay rent, and that became very costly for them. And so a lot of companies understand if you want to control your costs, you often have to own the real estate, and you better get in while the getting is good, and that can lead to overdevelopment of commercial properties. There was a story, it was in Tarrant County, I think it was in downtown Fort Worth, I have to go back and look, but a building, an office building that went for $12 million, which is like nothing.
130 was 130 million it sold, or 120 something million it sold for a couple of years ago.
And there, there's the problem is that you had some companies come in and say, well, with the interest rates and with the covenants that we have on the real estate that we own, the interest rates jumping affected us, and it doesn't make sense. In fact, you had a couple of very large real estate investment firms that came back and said, yeah, we'll just turn over our keys. We really don't want to keep this. But that's different than the demand for the space. So there are all these different variables on real estate, on commercial real estate that kind of go into play there. And I don't know if we're unique because I haven't really looked at other markets, but North Texas has been for a long time one of those where, again, you come in when Toyota came in, they built their own campus. They have several buildings on that campus, and they moved their North American headquarters to our area. Well, while they were building that campus, they were in a building that was very sufficient. I mean, there were other properties up there, but again, they want a certain if you're building that culture, having that campus with multiple buildings is going to be, well, they felt was going to be important. I haven't seen what the outlook would be on the return on investment on that. I think it's probably safe to say that for a company like Toyota, it's pretty safe on an investment, but it's then you get into the residential development and what there is out there, and you and I see it just from we could literally go out to our parking lot and do a 360 and in any directions, look at not just single family homes, multiple family homes, everything from condos and apartments, complexes and then side by sides and single family homes and all of that. And it's, it was going through the roof for the longest time. And now a little bit of a slowdown because of interest rates, but that likely won't last long. I mean, people coming here are going to have a home. If you're coming here for a new job, that's just the way it goes. But it is interesting, kind of watching that dynamic of, getting back to the workplace and then companies realizing, and that was part of the balance that we looked at back then. All right. Are they more productive? And some companies were saying our IT department is more productive if they're off-site. Well, then you've got proprietary issues and everything else. Is that, do they have a secure system at home? And can they keep those proprietary elements secure? And then the productivity in general. Well, are they more productive in person? The overwhelming majority of corporations said, no, we need them here, and they are more productive. This is something Walmart found, clearly. We're going to have you in. In fact, we want them concentrated in just a few different corporate offices. We want people in the building. You're more productive that way. And that's not going to change.
Coming up, more on inflation and one of Obama's economic advisors, another one, comes out and talks about the fact of what caused inflation, and it's not greed from the companies.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I guess so. The latest news is that the Iranian president was killed in that helicopter crash.
Yeah, state TV is reporting that he was killed, and we'll see what this means. Obviously, this is going to be a hit to the regime there in Iran, but what that means going forward, I mean, honestly, I don't think much is going to change. With Iran and their stance and what's going on there. So geopolitically, this is, I don't know, I guess you would call it hitting the pause for a second while they find a new president. But, yeah, state TV in Iran is reporting that the Iran's president was killed in a helicopter crash. And so I guess we'll see what that process looks like and finding a new president. But, again, it's not going to change much. It's not going to change anything geopolitically with what's going on with Iran, Iran's funding of their proxies, and all of that will continue because this administration allows that, and that's not going to change.
By the way, that chuckle was the the White House response over the weekend. Maybe it was last Friday, where they said that Israel has no greater friend than Joe Biden.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they do. Pretty much everybody else. Joe Biden is the most powerful man on the planet and the one person who could stop the funding of Hamas by cutting off Iran. In fact, they have no greater enemy because Hamas will be funded. You could say, well, Hamas is a greater enemy. Yeah, but they get their funding because of Joe Biden, and we can stop that.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Really interesting what's going to happen in the Trump trial this week. Will the judge agree to a direct verdict? Cohen on the stand again today. Jonathan Turley and Tom Dupree, former Assistant Attorney General, were on with Shannon Bream on Fox News Sunday. By the way, does Turley appear anywhere else? Is he ever on CNN? Has he ever been on MSNBC?
Not that I'm
talking
aware
about
of.
this.
Not that I'm aware of.
You don't hear. I mean, it was quiet the last couple of days. You think about it after Cohen being cross-examined, it's like everything stopped from the left on this.
Yeah. It's it was laughable when Stormy Daniels was up there. It was, in fact, very cringeworthy. Even the judge was like, whoa, yeah, I guess that was a mistake. And then Cohen gets up there. You and I said after Cohen's office was raided, and then the media went, well, he's going to flip. He's going to flip. And it's like, okay, we'll see where he goes. And then more and more came out about Cohen. It was like, oh, okay, well, that's who this guy is. A convicted liar. And the left media still over the weekend calling him star witness.
Yeah. Well, let's just go to some of the back and forth here because it gets interesting how and I don't think it's the first part of it, but the second part of it where she brings up Mother Jones, who was his far left, talking about him as a witness, and it's pretty funny because they're like, well, it depends whether they believe he's a liar or not. No, there's no case, but let's get to part of this here.
Tom, I'll start with you. This character, Bob Costello, he's a well-respected attorney. He's been out there telling his story that doesn't line up with the Bragg version of this story. Should they call him?
Well, look, I think Costello would have a lot to say. I think he would further undermine Cohen's credibility in his testimony. But to be honest, Cohen was absolutely destroyed on the stand last week. I'm not sure the Trump team needs to do much more to undermine his credibility with the jury. Look, the DA made a strategic decision. They built their case on a very rickety scaffold. They went after one of the most famous people in American history using one of the least credible witnesses in American history, Michael Cohen. And I think they paid the consequences for that decision last week during the cross-examination when they caught Cohen in what appeared to be additional lies. So although Trump could call Costello, in my view, I don't think they really need to.
Okay, Mother Jones puts it this way, knowing Michael Cohen is back on the stand tomorrow morning. Ultimately, the case comes down to which version of Cohen jurors believe. The temperamental, toadying, vengeful serial liar who Trump's attorneys tried to draw out with their barbed attacks, or a formerly temperamental, toadying, vengeful serial liar who now professes remorse for his subservience to Trump.
Well, the problem is that the new Michael Cohen looked a lot like the old Michael Cohen in his last cross-examination segment. I mean, it's very clear that he lied about a key phone call, not any phone call, but with the key phone call that he was speaking to as to when he told Trump that this matter is now over. The question is how this is impacting the jury. As a Chicagoan, I've studied New Yorkers my whole life, and they are a curious pizza-folding people. But the one thing I've noticed is that New Yorkers don't like to get played. They don't like being chumps. And the question is, at what point does this reach this jury as that this is the biggest legal con in history, and we're the marks? Because, when Cohen fell apart on the stand, at some point the jury is going to have to look at what's being asked of them. Bragg is trying just to get this to a jury. Bragg understands that Michael Cohen has no credibility, but he's trying to argue to the judge, that's a question for the jury. And then he's hoping the jury will not look at the evidence. They won't look beyond who's the defendant. Bragg may be wrong. That cynicism may cost him.
Now, I'm sorry, but when I just go back to where he said New Yorkers don't like to be chumps. 42% wanted the government to limit the size of soft drinks that they could actually drink. Mm-hmm. They've elected the same insane Democrats for years after year after year after year after year in New York City, and so. There may be some New Yorkers that don't wish to be chumps, but a significant portion their life is about being in the pathology of dependency and being chumps to the Democratic Party. So I don't have the confidence that Jonathan Turley has, except for the fact that you have to get 12 behind it. But this case should have never been there. There is no crime.
No, there isn't a crime, and we've talked about how Alvin Bragg and this judge have been lying to the jury.
Yep.
All along, they've been lying to this jury. We find it reprehensible. We believe this goes beyond, I think it, in fact, breaks the law when it comes to Alvin Bragg. He should never be able to prosecute anything any longer. He's an elected official. We'll see where it goes for him next time around. The judge should never, ever preside over any court setting ever again. And I think the only thing that might save the judge is if he grants a direct verdict, if defense moves on that. And
he's safe.
We'll
he's in New York, so he's safe no matter what he does.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is he shouldn't be able to. And if you're going to save that from critics like me, if you're going to save your position from critics like me, and yes, I'm aware he's where he is, if you're going to save yourself with critics like me, it would be in that end. But it could be too little too late. You let this whole thing go on at the expense of the taxpayer, and you know it's a sham. Yes. You know this whole thing is a sham, and he shouldn't be able to preside ever again. And we'll see. This is, the media critics of him have been it's all out, especially since Stormy Daniels was on the stand, and he comes back, and that was just a weird set of events just those days that she was on the stand alone. It was just him saying basically the defense should have protested more. What are you talking about?
I know.
They filed a motion and you denied it.
I know.
I mean, it's just bizarre. And quite frankly, is, again, reprehensible. I honestly don't see if he hands this, if Merchan hands this to a jury, I don't know what instructions he gives the jury. I don't know. I mean, following what he's done so far, it may be go, see if you believe, do you believe prosecution? Do you agree with him? Do you hate Trump? I don't know what the actual directions for the jury would be from this judge.
I'm reading here, and it's like how Michael Cohen became the hero of the resistance. He's sort of he hasn't been to the level of Michael Avenatti. Remember, is going to run for president. Oh my God, we gotta pull that out every couple of years and just play that audio. But it's like Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former lawyer and fixer, testified this week to those Americans still in the grips of Trump derangement syndrome. Cohen has become an unlikely pinup. It does not seem to matter much that he is a convicted criminal who served 2.5 years in prison for a variety of charges. Admittedly, some of these pertained to his actions on behalf of Trump, but he was also found guilty of hiding $4 million in income from the Internal Revenue Service back in 2018. What matters most is that Cohen loathes the former president, and his testimony could be critical in putting Trump behind bars. Payments made to Cohen on Trump's behalf to porn star Stormy Daniels are at the center of the trial. Infamously, Trump had hoped to stop her from going public with tales of them having sex during the 2016 election. As he writes further down, to be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure what the answer is. Paying hush money in itself is not illegal. By the way, he said, I'm not sure what the answer is about, what is the crime that Bragg is charging. The legal details of the case elude not only me, but also many esteemed experts. It seems to all basically boil down to how payments were recorded in Trump's operation books. Were the payments to Daniels via Cohen legal expenses, or were they reimbursements? It is so petty that it's impossible for anyone of sound mind to get worked up about it. Yet, such is the American liberal establishment's determination to get Trump that any excuse will be seized to pursue him. What's more, prosecutors have even set aside concerns over Cohen's glaring bias and made him their star witness. It cannot be overstated how much the criminality of this trial entirely revolves around Michael Cohen, said Michael Barbero on The Daily, the podcast from the New York Times. The trial has undoubtedly turned Cohen into a hero to the so-called anti-Trump resistance, although he was making a name for himself among that crowd long before his appearing on the dock. After completing his prison sentence in 2021, he built a following on TikTok and regularly appeared on the mainstream media to tell the world that Trump is terrible, no good, very bad, and a bum.
And a bum.
And a bum, yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
But it's just when you read it, it's like, everybody's like, well, what's the crime? What's the crime? Nobody can figure out what the crime is. I agree with Turley. When you look at trials of this importance, there has never been a worse trial brought against a politician in American history.
I can't think of one. This entire thing it's not even a circus, because a circus is entertaining. This is just a sham. It really is. From the beginning.
As he writes, this is the state of the political campaign to destroy Trump. A felon who talks like a 2-bit Long Island gangster feuding with the owner of a hot dog cart now holds enormous sway in one of the most momentous legal cases in American history. To my mind, by using this clownish, resentful lunatic to make their case against the former president, New York prosecutors are achieving the complete opposite effect. If they had anything of substance on Trump, they surely would not have to rely on such a unhinged and biased witness. This lawfare against Trump is bound to backfire, at least in the court of public opinion. Good job, Democrats.
Right. Yeah, by the way, that term fixer, and I mean, everybody's using it. That's kind of, it's settled in, but I question that. What did he fix? He's the breaker. He's not the fixer. I mean, it's just when you step back from it, and we've said this about a number of things along the way, history doesn't bring the drama of the moment. History looks back and says, all right, what happened here? Because even people who lived through things like this or any other event in history quite often forget. And when you look back, when history looks back at this, experts everywhere will be saying, how in the hell did this ever see daylight in a courtroom? How in the world was this thing not dismissed immediately? Remember when the 34 counts came down and everybody, mainstream media, was looking at it going, we don't know what the crime is yet. We don't know what the crime is yet. We don't know what the crime is yet. We're weeks into the trial and still no crime. Wow. This is going to have to be some kind of miniseries. Eventually, you got to do the miniseries here. And I don't know, just write it as it happened. Just write it as it happened. 10 years from now, people will look back on this going, what in the hell? Seriously.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Just because idling is common doesn't make it smart. Idling a diesel uses about a gallon of fuel per hour, which can cost you about $180 per week at $4.50 per gallon if your truck idles 8 hours a day. Idling easily can cost you a few thousand more in fuel alone per year, not including the added engine maintenance expense that results from excessive idling, harder on your truck's engine than highway driving. In addition to operating costs, many governments impose no idling laws and regulations with fines as high as $25,000. Instead, there are many alternatives: an extra blanket for cold temperatures, window screens for when the weather is warm, bunk heaters, and various auxiliary power unit options abound in this day and age too, many powered just by batteries. Otherwise, diesel and gas gensets burn far less fuel than your truck's engine. Research options to find your fit. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. The other thing over the weekend, and we might get some audio coming up. I think, Jonathan Turley, I think, did talk about that on Fox News Sunday, so we'll get to that audio cut. Was about Biden giving himself executive privilege on the actual audio tapes of his interview. I almost said with Ben-Hur. With the special counsel, and just the analysis. And Democrats, I mean, they just ignored that one because you can't defend it.
Yeah, there's no way.
And the only thing that really came out of it was now people look at Merrick Garland. Oh, he's just a sweet old man. No, he is a conniving Democrat.
Yep.
Who has politicized everything, because you cannot, once the White House said you can have the transcript, there was no executive privilege to begin with, because executive privilege applies to the inner workings of the White House, what the White House does. The Department of Justice having an investigation into the president through a special counsel, once it ends, the interview is not property of the White House. It doesn't fall under at all executive privilege, because it was not something created or done in the White House.
Right.
There is no executive privilege. So even if there was, or even if he had initially come out and not allowed the transcript, none of it's covered by executive privilege. But if it was covered by, that's the point. If it was covered by executive privilege, the president already waived it for the transcript, which means he waives it for the interview.
Right. No way around it.
They're both the same thing.
Yeah, no way around it.
And everybody knows it. And I didn't see any Democrat attempt to defend it, except when you got into Congress and the screaming and yelling that went back and forth. And Democrats were happy to have that because it took them off the topic of executive privilege for the president.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, I started thinking about over the weekend. If you get the Trump trial here and the judge, goes to a direct verdict and says, there was no evidence here. There's really nothing coming down the pike for Trump.
Right. The documents case is on hold.
So there's nothing really happening whatsoever. But this weekend, the summer starts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going through a bunch of different publications looking at liberal editorials. There really is nothing. There isn't an issue for them to hold on to. And I wonder if things just go quiet and what you see is, massive in the news. It saw it, there wasn't really a lot of excitement in Atlanta for Biden being there.
Mm-hmm.
Even at Morehouse College, you had some of the students turn their back on him. So that was just, and he's just out every day. We all know the 9% lies on inflation. We know that almost when he did the interview, who did the interview with a couple weeks ago? They said it was a lie a minute.
Yeah.
Everything is a lie. It's almost as if the mainstream media is looking at it going, we really don't know where to go.
Right.
And I started noticing that the last couple of days and went, wow, Memorial Day's this weekend. That really is the beginning of summer where people are thinking of vacations and everything else. And, how much of the thought process, how much will change over the summer. They thought it was going to be the summer of all Trump trials. That doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, especially if Merchan, the judge here in New York, decides to grant them a direct verdict and he decides that there isn't enough evidence to go forward here. If you're in the media, where do you go? Where do you go? Because you look at the polls for Trump. I think it was Brit Hume. We played the audio last week. Brit Hume crunching the numbers on the battleground states, and he said, look, all he needs is a couple of those battleground states. Well, he's got a healthy lead. Trump has a healthy lead in 4 of them. If that lead maintains in 4 of those battleground states, then, again, according to the numbers crunched by Brit Hume and other analysts, then he wins. So where do you go? If the polls aren't going your way, there's no way, because tell me what else would scandalize Donald Trump. Tell me what has been thrown at Donald Trump. So far, look at the entire list. Now, tell me something new that would work. Because this is the thing. Avenatti, Oh, he's the guy. He's the guy. He's going to bring down Trump. He's going to bring down Trump. Hey, he might be president. He might be president. And then Cohen. Oh, he's got the goods on Trump. He's going to. Where is it? Where they keep promising this, and they did over and over and over and over and over again to the far left. And now the far left is totally right now in anti-Semitism mode, pro-terrorist mode. They don't want Biden. They don't endorse Biden, even though he endorses them. They certainly don't want Trump. But tell me what new they could throw at Trump to scandalize him.
That's why I was
based
laughing.
on everything.
Like,
yeah, you look at everything, all of the giants. They started with Russian collusion. This wasn't some Michael Cohen amateur hour. This was Hillary Clinton. And she had help with the upper echelon at the FBI, people inside the halls of the Department of Justice at throwing this to the point that they got a special prosecutor on it. And, of course, it ended in a dud with Mueller. I'll never forget Mueller testifying, and it was just falling apart, and he was scrambling to find his own notes because it was nothing. Nothing. Impeachment 1, nothing. Impeachment 2, nothing.
I know what they're going to get on him.
Yeah? They're going to find out he actually is Satan?
No. Much the opposite.
What?
The exact opposite.
Oh, that he's a Christian?
He's close. That he has converted to Catholicism.
Yeah, right.
And he's going to have the Kansas City Kicker, at one of his rallies, and then the media will say that Trump has converted to Catholicism. He has rejected his past of promiscuity and now believes that men and women should refocus on marriage and children.
Right.
That will be it.
Well, he might
like
get
we got him now.
Yeah, and then he'll have people like Whoopi Goldberg going, "Yeah, okay, we really have nothing. We really have nothing."
Well, that's what she said at Bill Maher. I'll see if I can find the part of Bill Maher where he doesn't swear because he read it just like we did. Because what happened to me is I heard the criticism all day last week, and I hadn't looked at the actual transcript of the speech of the whole misogynist, anti-women. I'm like, what did he say? Mm-hmm. And I read it, and then when I saw the Bill Maher clip, it was almost mirrored what we said. I go, well, what's radical?
Yeah.
What is radical here? And he goes, the Democrats, the left doesn't realize that millions of Americans think this way. You're talking about marriage. You're talking about marriage and children. There can't be anything more institutionalized that has been viewed as positive and is without question a major choice of the majority of the women and men in the history of the world.
Right.
And they view this as something that's incredibly radical. And it was funny because I think National View had just the headline. Yeah, the AP gets Catholicism in America all wrong. It's like this conservative Catholic movement. They're against abortion. They're against premarital sex. They're against everything that's fun. It's like, well, no, that's as if that's new. It's like, well, that's Catholicism.
Yeah, right.
I mean that it's always been Catholicism.
Right.
They really haven't changed, from that. And it's like, yeah, but the conservatives, they wish to go back to the Latin Mass. Remember, the whole thing with the Department of Justice looking at Catholics was, well, this is somebody who wishes to bring back the Latin Mass. And I'm like, what the hell is that about?
Yeah.
And what do you say? And then one of the women on The View brought that up. Well, this is the radical. These are the people that wish to go back to the Latin Mass. And? Has anything about what they believe changed?
Yeah. Right.
What makes that radical? They don't even know what Catholicism is, and they're speaking on it, just like I guarantee the vast majority of the people that criticized the Kansas City Kicker's speech did not read it.
Right. Yeah.
Especially the part on marriage and children. I mean, it's just like, what? And when Bill Maher comes out, he goes, well, this is why the left is losing. They go crazy over something like this. And as we have added, they go, that's misogynist. Excuse me. You're the ones that are saying nothing on Title IX being decimated, women's sports. Now, mention you see that the man who just missed by one stroke getting in the U.S. Women's Golf Open.
Right.
By one stroke. And apparently there's a chance that if, people drop out, that he could be an alternate. All hell will break loose if that happens.
Yeah, sure.
But the absolute clear misogyny, the threatening of women, they leave alone and they're upset.
Yeah.
What got to me, though, and I mentioned it earlier, but I thought it was fascinating, the number of single women that I know, I didn't get a chance to get married, and I didn't. It's like, well, it sounds like you're wishing you did.
Yeah. Right.
Because otherwise it's like, hey, I've been single my whole life. I read what he said. I go, yeah, that's Catholicism. That's cool. Whatever. My personal status didn't matter. It was that because they didn't get married and have children, they were furious at him bringing up and saying that was a better way of life. Why do you even care? It's a conservative Catholic talking to a conservative Catholic university about what Catholicism has always promoted.
Find a new way to be offended every single day. Find a new reason to be offended.
I mean,
and that's what they do. That's exactly where they go every single time.
But I'm just looking at the Liberal, thehill.com, just looking at different headlines to see, okay, where are they going now? Where can they go? And I think when I started laughing like that, when you made up the point, they go, what could they throw at Trump now? That's hilarious because they've thrown the kitchen sink was the first thing thrown at him with Russia collusion.
Yeah. Yeah, it was going, and that's where they honestly, I think they thought they had won with that. They had think about who all was on board for Russian collusion. It was everybody. It was the kitchen sink. It was everybody.
Because you and I always said, well, I remember January 6th, 2017, or January 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it 3rd? Whatever it was, the 2nd. And you and I like, where's this Russia collusion?
Yeah.
Where's this coming? And that was all from the dossier.
Right.
We didn't know about at that particular point. But I'm just looking here at some of the editorials. I mean, because you're thinking the left has to reset. And it's like, let me see, 7 states most likely to flip the Hill. Ezra Klein, 7 theories of why Biden is losing and what he should do. Should Biden really be worried about black voters? And you're like, okay, but where are the attack on Trump? Everything is about Biden.
Yeah.
And and you and I noticed it last week. He's on the defensive. People are going, Trump said this. And almost everything they ask is if you say Trump said this, and it's an issue where Americans agree 70% or more on. And so Biden's on the defensive. How lawfare turned Trump into a superhero. Be excited about marriage and children. Oh, that was Harrison Butker's speech.
Mm-hmm.
Canceling Butker won't help. Let him be wrong. Los Angeles Times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, nope, nobody cares. Nope, nobody cares. Nope, nobody cares. Nope, nobody cares. And then I just go down. Removing debate audience takes away a crutch for Trump. Nobody cares.
Nope.
Never Trump, never Biden voters might loom larger. That's the whole point. That's from the Washington Post. And so everything that I just read, nothing as I scan the editorials of the major newspapers is anything where you go, oh, and that's a great point. When you said that, they've thrown everything at Trump. What could they throw at him?
What would be next?
They've cried wolf for such a long time. Nothing has stuck. So anything they say is like, whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
It wouldn't shock me if you had another prosecutor come up with some kind of nothingness to try and indict him. I don't know where you go with it.
And
at that point, it's beyond laughable.
And every time you hear somebody lying, it's Biden.
Yeah. Right.
They're not even trying to compare. Well, Biden lies, but Trump lies worse. You don't even see that anymore.
No, you don't.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Tell you, that was weird on Friday when I got out of here, and just before I left, I checked my phone, and it said, Scotty Scheffler arrested.
Okay.
Like, what in the hell are you talking about? I thought it was fake.
So my wife was having a minor surgery that morning, and we had to be there by 7, and everything's fine. But we show up, and I'm in the waiting room, and I'm looking at my phone. I'm going, no, they got something wrong. I'm reading that wrong. I cleaned my glasses, put them back on. Wait, what? And then, the story, it kind of evolved. So then it was, okay, the bus accident where a man was killed was not connected with the Scheffler incident.
Right.
And then Scheffler gets taken in, he's processed, he's released, he goes back. And when he goes back, he releases a statement. And then he confirms that it actually was related, that after the bus accident, they were rerouting everybody, and he said there was confusion, as I was confused as to where they were telling me to go. I would never disobey the direction of law enforcement and, all of that. And it was like, oh, my gosh, how did that just evolve into something so quickly? And that kind of explains it, when there's an accident like that. And then it's still dark, by the way, there. And
rain.
Yeah, and they just really didn't know what was going on. So confusion, no doubt.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We are Red Eye Radio. Good morning. So you got that one, was it an email or?
Yeah.
That asked the question. We can answer that. That's.
Yeah, the question came along. Can you imagine if it goes, one listener writes, given the corruption in the system, can you entertain the possibility that Merchan, the judge here, would pull an Engoron and issue a directed verdict not in favor of Trump, but against? And the answer is no, because the directed verdict is not like a normal verdict. And the judge isn't giving a verdict on guilty or not guilty. He would either oblige or not oblige.
Right. Now,
the
right.
defense.
So he could go against Trump, and going against Trump would be, all right, the defense now starts their case. But he doesn't. He is not. This is not a case where the judge is the jury.
Yeah, it is not a
Right.
verdict by a judge. Yeah, it is a jury verdict.
Right.
I just don't know what instructions you give a jury.
Well,
if you're this judge.
Now, to our great listener who wrote us that and brought up that absolutely, totally insane question about whether that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you never know. It's Democrats, so maybe they will try it. I mean, it's like they've tried everything else. Look, I think the best thing that you said last hour was, because I was saying how things have gone quiet. I really don't see any attack mode coming from the left. There's like no new attacks.
Right.
And you just said, well, there's nothing left. What could you say about Trump?
You got nothing else.
He's Hitler, Mussolini.
Remember the old 60s, 70s TV shows where the bad guy runs out of bullets, so he just throws the gun? It's really come to that. You made a point during the break that the next thing will be the questions to Trump, and it will be, are you going to accept the outcome of the results of the election? Are you going to accept the results of the election? Are you going to accept the results of the election? That'll kind of be the next thing. Build the fear in people's minds.
Let me show you where I got that from.
Yeah, all right.
And it was from Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the only thing that they have. They're going to continue with this.
Mm-hmm.
And so here it is. This is Marco Rubio. And Welker on Meet the Press.
Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter what happens, Senator?
No matter what happens? No, if it's an unfair election, I think it's going to be contested by either side.
Senator, no matter who wins.
I think you're asking the wrong person. The Democrats are the ones that have opposed every Republican victory since 2000. Every single one. It's Hillary Clinton.
No Democrat has refused to concede. Hillary Clinton conceded. Senator, will you accept the election results?
Hillary Clinton said the election was stolen from her and that Trump was illegitimate. Kamala Harris agreed.
Senator,
we have Democrats now.
Senator, she conceded the election. She said that Trump was illegitimate. She said that the election had been stolen. Kamala Harris agreed. By the way, there are Democrats serving in Congress today who in 2004 voted not to certify the Ohio electors because they said those machines had been tampered with. And you have Democrats now saying they won't certify 2024 because Trump is an insurrectionist and ineligible to hold office. So you need to ask them. I think have you ever asked a Democrat this question on your show? I bet you've never asked a Democrat that question.
Love it. I love it. And he's absolutely right. And Hillary went home in the middle of the night and cried on her couch. So, she eventually conceded and then went on to tell everybody that it was rigged. It was stolen. He wasn't legitimate. And she wasn't the only Democrat to do that. They did that well into 2017.
Yeah.
In fact, they brought about a special prosecutor to try and prove that it was the Russians that colluded with Trump.
That's what he missed. That's what he missed. You kidding me?
Yeah.
They went after Trump. They basically said Trump colluded with the Russians to hack the election, and that's why he won. What the hell are you talking about?
Right. They got a special prosecutor assigned to that, and he found nothing, no Americans involved in that, only Russians involved in that. So you need to be asking the left, and of course she's not going to ask the left.
Now, they're going to continue to ask that. I mean, that we know. I mean, that's one of the concerns. But I don't know if there's going to be a debate now that Trump said, Biden's got to take a drug test, and we'll get back to that in a moment here because the stuff on social media over the weekend. But I think it's effective, and this is where we put on our political consultant hat. That doesn't work anymore. Everybody has already they've weighed that in for Trump. Mm-hmm. They've already weighed that in.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that I didn't even hear the speech of the NRA, but I saw it was Politico. Trump mentions he might serve a third term. I'm like, oh, he must have been joking again about it.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the things that the things that don't matter. What was the other thing that he said last week that was absolutely a joke? That the media, what was that? Because it was.
Hold on. Yeah.
Because when he starts telling jokes and they start taking it as this is seriously what he's saying, and it was a complete joke.
Was it? Did he joke about? Was it Charles Manson? Oh, that Charles Manson was a good guy. Who was it that?
No. Charles Manson was a guy. No.
Who was it that? He wasn't such a bad guy, and he was
Hannibal
joking.
Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter. That's who it was.
The fictional thing. He said he's a good. It was fictional.
Yeah.
He was joking about that. You know, and it's like when they start. And we said this isn't going to last today because it was a joke. But they're just out there, just waiting for something. And that's why when he initially agreed to it, I said, look, I don't know what's going to happen, but Trump agreeing so quickly to all of the Democrats' demands, that sort of died down over the weekend when people started thinking, well, something, now that Trump came out and said, look, he needs to be drug tested, He needs to be drug tested before these things happen. I don't know whether they're still going to take place or not. I really don't. I think that probably his campaign might be reconsidering. I initially thought the crowd, as I said last week, I initially thought not having the audience there, I didn't like that because Biden is distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to know that he can't speak if there's a distraction out there. But then again, when I thought to myself, okay, if he has a minute or two to speak and there's nobody else there and he has
silence.
No notes and no teleprompters and there is no audience that you can play off of, I know the worst thing possible, the loudest noise ever as a stand-up comedian is total silence when you're bombing. Because I know I did that. I bombed. And there's nothing like silence when you hear it. And so I'm going, well, maybe that isn't a bad idea. But the fact is allowing, the two liberal networks to have it where it then becomes 2-1. I've said, well, Trump should say, once you ask the question, the moderator can't interrupt anymore. Let the public decide whether you're not answering the question.
Right.
Don't keep interrupting him. If the candidates' microphones are going to be shut off, then the moderators, you ask the question. But the problem is leading questions. And I said, you're going to have every one of these Democrats ask over and over again, you didn't answer that question about the election. You didn't answer the question about the election. I think Trump's going to go, me? Are you kidding me? The Mueller report, they went after me for 3 years stating that the election was stolen and lying about me, and you dare bring it. That's how he should answer.
Yeah.
And you dare. And we all know it was created by the Hillary campaign. The Hillary campaign created and funded the lies. The Federal Elections Commission fined her hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever the amount is, for sending money to create a false dossier about me. And then we went on for 3 years that I colluded with the Russians to steal the election, and therefore it was illegitimate.
Yeah.
So don't tell me about it, and that's what you do.
Yep.
And you said to go, otherwise, I'm done. Let's move on to the next question.
Right.
Yep. I give Biden half of my time.
Well, there's another thing, too, is that, you think about the silence in the room and then just letting Biden just kind of fill that time. Now, even though the microphone will be off, Trump is going to say a couple of words, and that's going to be distracting to Biden. And so that, in other words, Trump will be the only distraction in the room for Biden, and I don't think that's good for Biden. I think that could end horribly.
You know why that makes sense? Because if you turn off your microphone and say something, and it's not on mic, but I can still hear you.
Damn right.
Yeah, exactly.
See what I mean? See what I mean?
All right, let me try a lie and see how it works, you being off mic.
Yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain said he made love to 20,000 women.
Lies.
I've made love to more.
Everybody knows it's false. It's false. That's a lie. Everybody knows.
I'm off my game. I'm off my game.
I know. That's what's so foreign to me.
I can't justify my big lie.
Well, here's the thing. What you see what the liberal media is trying to build. They're trying to build this little safety net for Biden because they know we can't put him in a room with audience members. The left media saying, Trump loses his crutch if there's no audience. Are you saying Trump is going to have wide applause when he makes cases against? Are you making the case that he would seemingly win it with the audience at least in those moments? But the thing is that Biden is distracted by anything. Biden might look up at the lights and be distracted, but there's no way that Trump, even with his microphone off, is going to be silent. So he's going to react to Trump every single time. And quite frankly, if I'm on Trump's team, I tell him, it won't matter if your microphone is off. You say what you want to say when you want to say it, and you throw him off his game because he'll be so angry and defiant. He'll just go into loops. His mind will misfire, and it will be a soup show.
Well, what I, and again, what I would want is not actually, again, because I haven't said this, no podiums.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You wear a wireless mic,
Yep.
you're out there, and you promote what you be. And I'm saying that not because I'm not trying to be cruel and say he's an old man, he shouldn't have something to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm saying, if you want to sit him in chairs, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
No notes.
Yeah, no notes.
No notes.
No notes whatsoever.
No notes, no teleprompter.
Right.
No sharing of the questions with, because we know it's
right.
happened.
Yeah.
No sharing your questions beforehand.
Right. Donna Brazile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so and that's what Trump should demand. As for the drug thing, was Trump responding? I'm not sure when that side-by-side came out of Biden, which is all over social media. I mean, just all over. And one shows the normal, and I'm not insulting, it's just an observation more of a squinty-eyed Biden that you normally see.
Right.
And it got to the point where people were asking, all right, did somebody do that with AI? And I'm like, okay, what's the other side-by-side speech where his eyes are wide open and he never blinks? Is it AI? I don't know where that came from.
Right.
And how long did that go on for? Because when you see it and you look at those eyes, and if that's true, and people tend to believe it might be because they see Biden slurring like crazy, he can't even get through. He can't get through answering a question that's 15 seconds long,
right,
without drifting off into some bizarro land. And all of a sudden, in the State of the Union, now he's reading it. The screaming didn't help. I mean, there, but in that video, with his eyes so incredibly wide open, the first thing you say is, "What is he on?"
Right.
And that, to me, I don't know if Trump said that before he saw that or after he said that, because that was. And I haven't seen any reaction from the White House saying, stop that. That's false. It never happened. That's AI.
Right.
Now, the Trump campaign would have immediately done that.
Oh, yeah.
Said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's AI.
Right.
Show us where you got it from. The left isn't saying that. So I don't know the source of that. I went through probably 10 different people that posted it, and I couldn't find the source of that particular speech because I'd want to watch that particular speech.
Right.
My point is, people, whether it's true or not, people can believe it's true.
If their perception, perception is reality, and if they perceive it as that, there are a couple of things here that if you get in these moments, the moments from any media event, but especially a Trump-Biden debate, will go viral. So, however, it used to be about what the catchphrase or zinger was. It's about the moment, It's about the mainstream media's version of viral clip. But if Biden has a series of bad moments, that's what will be viral. That's what will get circulation. So the sound bites that used to rule the day after a debate won't be able to take over the viral nature of the implosion if that happens to Biden on a debate stage on social media. That's just going to be everywhere, and you can't control that.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, Trump's saying that over the weekend that, if I'm going to debate him, he needs to take a drug test because obviously he's high as a kite. And that seemed, like I said, I don't know whether he said that before he saw that side-by-side video of Biden giving one speech and the other speech where his eyes are wide open. And you see that, like I said, whether it's AI or not, I don't know. Right. I don't know if it came from his speech. All I know is I did not hear the White House or Democrats come out screaming against that being put out there.
Right.
And
Right.
normally they would.
Right.
And with the use of AI, that's a great excuse. Even if it's true. Wow, that was AI. I mean, even if it wasn't, people are always wondering. But people are also wondering about his cognitive abilities, Biden's cognitive abilities, and, whether he is at times, whether it's debate, because whether it's a State of the Union or debates, he does better than just if he's on a normal day giving a speech.
Right.
He can't keep it together for 15 seconds. They're scared to death to put him out there. So the public's saying, well, then how come he performs, better at these, other functions? And then when you see the eyes open like they are, people ask the question, is he on something?
Right.
And
right.
I think the worst thing that the left tried to do, and they sort of dropped it, is they started going through every moment of Trump's speech, and if Trump slipped up, see, Trump's the same. Trump has his cognitive problems.
Yeah.
Obviously. And it's like, stop it. It's not going to work.
Remember the time he was at a rally and he came down a ramp that was wet?
Yeah.
And he slipped just a little bit. He didn't fall down. He just almost lost his footing, and then he made a joke about it, saying, I think the Democrats set that ramp up for me. And, and it was a wet ramp. Look, and it was after, I think, the first time that Biden fell. I think it was after getting on Air Force One. I think it was after that one. I have to go back and refresh my memory. But they were trying to make the comparison. See, they all do it. They all slip and fall. They all slip and fall. Yeah, you guys know something that's very different with Biden. You know it. And now you refuse to cover it altogether. And even if you don't know it, all of America does. It doesn't matter what you report anymore, mainstream media. The American people see what's going on. They know what's going on. Oh, the economy's great. They're the ones paying for it. So you can put your blinders on, or you can flat out lie every day as you do. You can't lie when the truth is known by the American people.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. You were just looking at that side-by-side comparison that was out there. And again, we're simply talking about, in a campaign, what sticks and what does not stick. And this is when we always like to put on our political consultant hats and what we would tell the opposition. And we know, what we would tell the opposition, or whether we agreed with the party or disagreed with the party, how we would politically consult them on it and what works. And that side by side picture, because the one is Biden, where he looks like Walter, Jeff Dunham's buddy.
Yeah, right.
And the other one, his eyes are, it's almost as if his face is stretched.
It looks as if he's had Botox in every part of his face, including his eyelids, which he never blinks. It is edited, but he never blinks. On the left side, the normal version, current version, he blinks repeatedly. On the right side, his eyes are fixated. In fact, I think I'm becoming hypnotized by watching it.
Well,
it's weird.
It's, when you see it, it's creepy. But even if editing AI was used, it's believable. That's the problem that Biden has.
Yeah, I could see this being AI. I mean, I guess it's possible, and so that's a possibility. But it looks weird. Here's what people see. Even if you take this side by side and put it aside, you see the difference they see the difference in Biden, like, at the university, where it looked like in the background he was falling asleep over the weekend. He's just kind of, and then everybody applauded, and he seemed to wake up long enough to applaud. I'm not sure if he knew what he was applauding, but they see that version, and then they see, as you mentioned earlier, the State of the Union, where where he's just apparently has lost control of his voice modulation. It's on, his mind goes to 11, and his amplifier is at 11 the entire time, and it's a difference in the two presentations, and I don't have any doubt that there's something going on. I don't know if he's drinking his favorite coffee right before he goes on stage. I had one John Force, NHRA champion, record holder, legend, told me one time that right before he would approach the line, he would do one Krispy Kreme donut and 8 ounces of coffee every time. So it could be multiple times a day. And his doctor finally told him, John, no more of that. and so, and John, if you talk to him, by the way, that's, again, if you ever had the opportunity to talk to him, just one of those energetic guys naturally. Biden's not energetic. That's the difference, is that I might not know the difference between a pre-coffee, post-coffee person like John Ford. It would be like a Gary Busey. I don't think Gary Busey, there's no evidence he's ever even had coffee. He's just Gary Busey. But with Biden, you see the before and the after, and that's the difference. You look in the what's the difference between, again, the Walter version of Biden, where he's always squinting and he's always got the frown on his face and he looks angry all the time. And then the loud Biden, where he looks angry, but he's just louder.
Well, he gave an angry speech at Morehouse College.
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, he did.
He was angry, and it was, and you're like, wow. And so, and by the way, we're just in the middle of talking about, now Memorial Day's this weekend. It's summertime.
Yeah.
And, where are the campaigns going? Because Eric said last hour, he said, well, what are they going to go after Trump with? What is new that they can't hit Trump on the issues? Mm-hmm. Now, the only issue you could hit him on, well, for example, if you look at what I'm concerned about in a Trump administration, and it's whether they would enact the tariffs again and start trade wars.
Yeah,
and J.D. Vance was on over the weekend on the Sunday morning news shows defending the Trump tariffs against China. Fine, if you want to say China, but understand and explain to the American people how there's going to be consequences to that. Prices are going to go up.
Yeah,
prices are going to go up, or people are going to be laid off. One or the other.
Right.
You cannot raise prices without having an economic reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And if Republicans are trying to sell you that isn't the case, then they're not telling you the truth, just like Democrats aren't when they say the minimum wage has no effect whatsoever. You raise the cost, it does. But nobody else but me and you are thinking about, okay, would Trump actually put in those type of tariffs, which when you have inflation, as we have had, wouldn't be a good thing.
Right.
And but nobody else is.
Right.
I don't think anybody else is thinking about that except you. Me. So what are they thinking of? What's a criticism? And by the way, Biden would do the same tariffs, and Bernie Sanders would do the same tariffs. So there really isn't a differentiation between the political parties, even if Trump went ahead and did that. Right. And I don't believe he would. I believe he would be measured like he was last time when he actually, when you had Larry Kudlow come into his administration as an economic advisor. But again, only you and I are worried about that. Maybe a few other people.
Yeah, right.
And so you look at every other issue. The left cannot touch Trump on the issues. How can they sit there and say, Trump wants to build a wall? Well, that's the advice that Democrat consultants are giving Biden, that he needs to be more MAGA on immigration.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up.
Right.
Rubio yesterday.
Yeah.
Came out and said, he would be for sending illegal immigrants back.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the majority of Americans are for that right now.
Right.
You didn't even hear Marco Rubio. You might have seen, the only thing I saw was it was on a liberal website that said, oh, he even flip-flops. Well, a ton of people have.
Oh, sure.
Because it's completely changed at the border. We see when government wishes to have an open border, the insanity that it can cause. And that's why you've had a ton. So that didn't even hit. It's like Marco Rubio flip-flopped on. Yeah, a lot of people did.
Right.
Because they see what this administration is doing. All it does is bring back to, well, Marco Rubio wasn't for it until you had the Democrats do everything they possibly could to have the border as open as possible. And so, of course, he has, you look at it and the average person would say, so he has reevaluated what he thought before based on what Biden did.
Mm-hmm,
it all goes back to what was created by Biden and the Democrats at the border.
Right.
So that doesn't work. So you say, where do they go? And this is what I would be doing if I was a Republican consultant. Where can they attack Trump?
Right.
And this is a discussion you're having, and that would have been part of the discussion when you came in and said, I don't know. I don't know where they go next, what would stick with the American public, because they've tried everything. And that's why I joked and said, well, they're going to come across and say, he has now converted to Catholicism. And that's the only thing I could think of with the Kansas City Kicker. Well, that would be it. Well, he's converted to Catholicism.
Yeah.
Forget about the porn star stuff. He's Catholic now.
Yes, he's pro-family. Right.
But I think that's really critical as we head to Memorial Day and then the summer, where people just aren't as focused and Congress isn't in session.
Yeah. Right.
And it's well, where do you go? Well, it's just now and there's, from what we know, I don't know if there's any start date of any trials coming up. And if this judge does a direct verdict, or you get one juror to say, if this is a hung jury, it's not going back.
Yeah. Right.
Because,
that's a good point. I haven't fully entertained that possibility. I mean, it's been in the back of my mind. But you could get to the point of a hung jury, even in New York. I mean, it's quite possible.
Only one juror.
Well,
could you see if Bragg says we're going to bring this back again?
If you've got
September or something.
Right. Well, you see the polls that show the majority of the people believe this is politically motivated.
Yes.
So if you have 1 out of 12 that believe the whole thing is a sham, politically motivated, that it doesn't rise and looks at it for what it is also, that there is no law that's been, they haven't demonstrated that any law's been broken. You might have 1 or 2 jurors, and I know I'm going out on a limb here in New York, but that's not impossible where things are right now. I could see a juror looking at this going, 1 or 2 jurors looking at this going, I don't really like the guy. I don't really care for Trump, but this is wrong. This is, if you want to get Trump, get Trump at the polls, beat Trump on election day. Coming after him with nothing isn't the way to do it. So, that's, again, one of the many possibilities here. But beyond this, if you think about it, right now, with the media, with the left, the only thing right now they have, right now, on the road, in play, is Alvin Bragg's case on nothing. It could go that they give it to the jury, it goes to the jury finds him guilty. That's one possibility. But then it goes to appeal, and I guess we'll see how long that's going to take. It typically takes a long, long time. But there is that possibility, a couple of possibilities, that a direct verdict comes down and the judge obliges and says, you haven't made your case, Alvin Bragg, so sorry. Or they hand it to a jury and a jury comes back, a hung jury, comes back and they can't come to a verdict. And in that case, what do? Now you've got to go and you got to reset it all over again.
I don't think they will.
I don't think you do. I don't think you can get that done. You're not going to get it done before November.
Well,
I don't think they would even attempt it.
Well, it's all political to begin with. I think it would be the pressure from Democrats realizing this has blown up in their face.
Right.
And if he brings back a horrible case again, yeah. But, the hung jury. Now, if it's a direct verdict, it's done.
Right.
And so, but but that's not really anything they have against Trump because it's working against them. If there was a hung jury and Bragg said it's going to bring it back, Democrats would be screaming, "No,
right,
don't bring this back."
Right,
we've made a mistake. All the lawfare has benefited Trump because now what we're finding out is people don't like bribes, they don't like influence peddling, and they don't like rogue prosecutors and judges.
Yep.
We need to find something else that they like.
Yep.
Well, you've run out of stuff.
Well, you've run it. What else do you do?
Well,
what else do you have?
On the issues, you have nothing, and Trump can constantly pound Biden on his record of everything, on inflation, the border, Israel, the Democrats that are pro-terrorist that exist today, the anti-Semitism from the White House, that Biden. I would bring up Biden at Morehouse College, bringing up the race card over and over again, and we see more blacks are coming and supporting the Republican Party and supporting my candidacy because he hasn't done anything for them. We got people jobs.
Right.
Our administration, by opening up the economy, got people jobs. They felt better about themselves. We don't care about race.
Right.
We care about people.
Right.
Biden is focused on America 60 years ago. I'm focused on America today. By the way, just off the top of my head.
Yeah. And Biden has to lie repeatedly to instill fear in the minds of everybody, and especially trying to instill racial fear in the minds of everyone.
By the way, he should do what we do. And we're doing about the Georgia election law. He brought it up again. He lied about it again.
Yep.
He is just like a hate crime leader. He's just like somebody of the KKK or white Aryan nations lying about something in order to create racial anger based on a lie. 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Gavin Newsom wanting to raise gasoline prices.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We'll get to that coming up. Bill Maher's comments on the Kansas City kicker. By the way, nobody's going to be talking about that this week.
Well, God, it went nowhere. Once anyone who was paying attention looked at what he said, what he actually said, I thought, oh, okay, here's a Catholic guy talking to other Catholics. What else you got?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm reading here. This is in the Wall Street Journal. Biden and Trump hunt for breakthrough moment in stagnant election.
Uh-huh.
I didn't see this when I was talking about it earlier. It's just a feeling that I had, but it's not stagnant for Trump.
No.
Stagnant for Biden.
Yeah. Well, because they have reached the end. The one thing they tried to throw at Trump was the fact that on the trial was that he's not out campaigning. He can't campaign because he's on trial. It's like, dude, he's raising money hand over fist, and he's still campaigning. And so they couldn't go that route. That didn't work for them. And, we've been asking this morning, all right, from the left in general, what else do they throw at him? Once the Bragg trial is over, whichever way it goes, what do they have against him?
Now watch this. Now understand, as I said, the Wall Street Journal editorial page is conservative. The news division is not.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for this? Here's how they start this out. Tens of millions of dollars in TV ads has failed to lift President Biden's historically weak approval ratings. Former President Donald Trump, currently a criminal defendant stuck in a New York courtroom, last week turned to lower wattage allies such as the North Dakota governor and the House Speaker to talk to voters on his behalf. Just like the look I wish everybody...
Lower wattage?
I love the way your eyes turned and just looked at me like, what the hell is that?
Well, just the words lower wattage.
I know.
The Speaker of the House.
I know.
He's only third in line to be president.
And the thing is, what they completely get wrong is, and look, I think that we can take all of our biases and still give you an analysis of next week, of last week.
Right.
Last week was an extremely positive week for the Republicans. Why? Because the House Speaker doing that and other Republicans coming forward. Again, the North Dakota governor is a possible vice presidential running mate of the president.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes him, because that when the discussion was brought up about him and he's been out defending the president, it said, okay, he could be, he is in line to be considered a vice presidential candidate. Whether he will be or not, who knows? But the House Speaker, it's a House Speaker. But it was huge because in that last 10 days, you had last 2 weeks. You had the week before DeSantis and him.
Mm-hmm.
All right? No more fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the Speaker. So you had the Speaker, you had DeSantis, and you have the president. And the Speaker going through what he was going through to have the president and the Speaker and at the same time DeSantis all come around, all on the same page, was huge for the Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
And so this whole thing that both sides are looking for it, Trump has it. He can pound on Biden every single day on inflation, the insanity of the anti-Semitism that is in his administration, the pro-terrorism mindset that's inside his administration, everything, the lies, the lies on race. As I've said, it's really incredible. Biden is so bad that the media no longer can compare Trump and say, well, yeah, Biden lies, but Trump lies more. You don't hear that anymore.
Right.
And so when it's like tens of millions of dollars, I'll read it again, tens of millions of dollars in TV ads has failed to lift President Biden's historically weak approval ratings. Former President Donald Trump, currently a criminal defendant stuck in a New York courtroom, last week turned to lower wattage allies, such as the North Dakota governor and the House Speaker, to talk to voters on his behalf. Democrats and Republicans have been eager to shake up a stagnant race in which neither man thus far has a clear-cut edge. Are you? It's mind-boggling, the shift in the public.
Yeah.
Over what has gone on.
It is.
And Trump and the Republicans, I have no idea how they'll blow it. But
we that's a pretty big asterisk that we leave right fully in place, because it's quite possible. I mean, you just have to leave the possibility out there.
Right.
Is that possibility waning?
Yes.
Okay. Because of everything we've mentioned.
Yes.
Because of how they have seemingly come together. Look, Johnson showing up outside when you look at any of the others, a number of the others, the whole vying for the possible VP slot. We understand how that works too, but it comes together when the Speaker of the House is there on site. That's a big deal. So that points us more in the direction of a unified party, at least through November 5th. And then it's drain the swamp. It's not the way that it was in 2016 right now. It's not the way, I have to put that asterisk out there, at least for now it's not. It's not the way it was in 2020. And even, you've seen it even with Trump. And I think Trump has shown in a couple of instances, even before his trial started. We go back to the ousting of the former speaker, Kevin McCarthy. And when the day that all fell out and the media was asking Matt Gaetz, a reporter asked him, have you been in touch with the former president, Mr. Trump? And he said, yes, we've talked over in recent days. And do you think that he agrees with this? And he says, well, we've definitely talked about it. And yeah, I think he agrees. Well, would you be surprised to learn that he posted just a little while ago on Truth Social that he doesn't believe this is the right thing to do, getting rid of McCarthy? And, of course, that was a huge surprise to Gaetz. But more importantly, I saw that as Trump saying, look, guys, we can't just we can't do the whole drain the swamp thing right now. Maybe later, but we can't do it right now. And that was just one inkling of it. But then you see it now. You've seen things that he has said in recent weeks where he has shown that, look, we've got to work together. He had compliments for the Speaker of the House, Ron DeSantis now, and former President Trump have at least worked things out to the extent, and I'm building another asterisk here, at least to the extent that you're going to get through November 5th. Because, if you're going to be a governor, and DeSantis still will be governor of Florida, you certainly want to work with a GOP president. And so for DeSantis to campaign at all for Trump is a good sign. Is it the unity that everybody would like to build in the unicorn world? Nope, but it's a lot better than it was.
Oh, yeah. But the headline itself, Biden and Trump hunt for breakthrough moment. Biden needs a breakthrough moment. Trump does not. And they say things like, well, the audience for all news talk TV is down. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's got nothing to do with that. May just be the case that the public's already decided. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things that are happening, can tend to be around 4 or 5 topics. The lawfare, but the lawfare is huge. Yeah. And if you explain it right, if you explain it through rhetoric, people are going to turn you off. If you actually go to the legalities of it and explain to people what's going on and why it's unfair, I think people will listen to it, especially when you talk about the legal implications there. Trump doesn't need a breakthrough, but if you look at it, the problems are the same. It's not like we have 20 new problems a day on the federal level. Mm-hmm. Here are the problems we face: the border, inflation, lawfare, anti-Semitism, pro-terrorist liberals, out there, the insanity of EVs and the grid. Mm-hmm. I look and say, those are the major things, and so there's 6 topics. So if you really don't know what's going on, you get into the tribal rhetorical language that really gets people nowhere, and it gets boring very quickly. But if you explain what the opposition is doing, the Democrats, and explain why it's wrong, I think people are, definitely willing to listen. But when they say Trump and Biden hunt for a breakthrough, Trump doesn't need a breakthrough. He just pounds on everything. It just shows you, this was written by Catherine Lucy and Aaron Zittner for Wall Street Journal. It just shows you that these people that work, even for what are viewed as very high elite media, clearly don't have a clue as to what actually is going on.
Right.
Because this is I think it's a horribly written article. And if I was an editor, I'd be going, what the hell are you talking about? Because if you look at it, and you can take my biases out of it. This isn't bias.
Right.
To say that Trump
observation.
To say that Trump needs a breakthrough right now, he doesn't. Biden does, but there is no breakthrough for Biden.
No.
Where does he get his breakthrough? Unless Trump actually goes out and kills somebody on a street in New York City.
Exactly.
I mean, there's not much Biden can do now. You and I, because the Republicans have blown it in the past, going, yeah, but they can find a way. They can find a way to do it. They certainly can, because we've been disappointed so many times. But I've never seen an election that is so in favor of one political party based on where they stand on the issues.
Yeah.
Never.
Right.
Never. Not even close.
Right. Yeah.
Because the Democrats are wrong on every major issue.
Mm-hmm.
They're wrong on the border. Mm-hmm. They're wrong on inflation. They're wrong on EVs. They're wrong on Israel.
Yeah.
They're wrong on foreign policy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's very, very easy for Republicans just to keep repeating the same thing over and over again, because that's where they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And just because people may say, you know something, I don't want to listen to CNN today because it's going to be the same thing over and over again, doesn't mean that they don't understand the problems and will vote a particular way based on what they see as the challenges and problems that we face today.
Right.
I still think, though, the Republicans need to come out with a major campaign where everybody knows how often we've said this. Because we keep repeating this because it's valuable advice.
Yeah, it will work.
Come out with not every ad, but a significant ad campaign. Joe Biden and the Democrats can't and won't fix the problems because they created the problems.
Mm-hmm.
It is where they wish to see the country. What you see as absolute chaos, they view as liberal victory.
Yep.
By the way, off the top of my head, I just did.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
No, it's not.
Not that you're paying the wrong people. Eric has offered our services for $1 trillion.
I will
to which either party wants us.
I'll offer a special Red Eye Radio Groupon. I'll do it for a cool $1 billion.
Okay, we're down to that's significant.
And if you act now, I'll throw in some voices.
Is that a $500 million each or $1 billion for both? Or are you just offering your services and I'm excluded?
Well, if you're on board, if you agree to it, then we'll do that. Which is, you're getting 2 for 1 here, 2 for $1 billion.
And we've been giving
That's
this
a bargain.
We've been giving this advice away for free.
I know.
Remember during the Obama years, and we'd give Obama. We go, look, Obama, this is what you should do. And people would call and scream at us, don't give the Democrats advice.
What are you doing?
And we went, they're not going to listen to us. Are you nuts?
They don't care what we say. Yeah. Look, a cool $1 billion. You might be able to talk me into another discount. In fact, if someone in the GOP who's connected with the Pentagon, then clearly you have military experience. We'll offer a military discount on top of that.
I'll do it alone for $500,000.
Yeah.
Excuse me, $500 million.
Oh, okay. All right.
See, this is competition.
Right. I'll do it for $1 million. Now I'm just giving it away. $1 million. I don't do anything for $1 million.
But listen,
Come on.
Republicans, you're getting it for free. Right now, this is free.
Look, We know you're listening.
It's free.
We know you're listening. We know you are.
This isn't hard.
Not that hard.
I'm going to
take it, run with it.
I'm going to repeat it again. Here comes. I don't know how you're going to do the ad. You probably deep voice guy could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Joe Biden and the Democrats can't and won't solve the problems that we face today because Joe Biden and the Democrats created the problems we have today. This, to the Democrats and Joe Biden, is liberal victory. To you, it's chaos. To them, it's success. Vote Donald Trump and the Republicans this November. This ad brought to you.
To learn more, go to rediradioshow.com. That's part of the agreement, too.
Okay. we got to make some cash here
somehow.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous materials shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, the top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. A number of different articles out there, and from the mainstream media even. I mean, this from Washington Post, Americans are down on the economy again with inflation topping election concerns. Soaring debt and deficits causing worries now about threats to the economy and markets. Seems like we've talked about that maybe once before.
Yeah,
maybe twice.
Maybe.
We have, but really interesting, a number of economists really started saying this last summer, that when the money runs out from COVID, when it hits, it's going to be bad. And it was expected anywhere from last fall to right now, the springtime of this year.
Right.
And you see it happening. And I think that's what the Washington Post is talking about in the one article that we'll get to you in just a moment here.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, just want to play this short clip from Bill Maher over the weekend, doing exactly what we did, because as I was saying last Thursday night, Friday morning show, I was just busy that whole day. And all I saw was the criticism of the Kansas City kicker and what he said. Or what they claimed he was saying, that it was misogyny and everything else. First thing we did was come on the air and just read what he said about women. It's like, where's the problem?
Right.
He's a conservative Catholic speaking at a conservative Catholic university. And he didn't say you couldn't have a career.
Right.
He talked about the other choice out there, the other choice, and a combination of choices. And it's like, was really no big deal. And we're like, wow, the left's just looking for I think they're looking for something to change the narrative.
Yeah.
To change where the focus is right now.
Anything,
which is on inflation and everything else. But Bill Maher did the exact same thing. And believe me, we don't agree with Bill Maher on a ton of different things. But on this one, yeah, we do. Here we go.
He said, some of you, talking to the women here, some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world. Okay, that seems fairly modern. But I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I don't see what the big crime is. I really don't. And I think this is part of the problem people have with the left, is that lots of people in this country are like this. Like he's saying, some of you may go on to lead successful careers, but a lot of you are excited about this other way that everybody used to be. And now can't that just be a choice too?
There you go. And I had to cut it because he gets into profanity then after that. Moment.
But, and that's the kind of, and then you couple that with, Whoopi's response, which is like, I don't see the big deal here. It's because you know how to compartmentalize things, but the left is so trained to automatically jump and be offended by anything and everything. First of all, the fact that a man, now think of the irony here. The side that wants women to step aside and men to take over women's sports is upset that a male athlete is talking to women at a university. How dare he tell women? I'm sorry, it's your side that wants women to step aside so that men can play their sports. Because they don't know how to not be offended. They've lost their ability to not be offended.
Well, Patricia Heaton, the actress, she said, I did both. She said, I did a career and a mother. She goes, luckily, I was able to do that because of the schedule.
Right.
She goes, maybe some other women don't. But she goes, I don't see anything wrong with what he said.
Right.
It's like, what is it's, and that's the thing, too, with the left, with them completely ignoring the misogyny of the radical transgender movement and the bullying and the threatening of women.
Right.
Where men get to decide the definition of a woman, they decide what it is. I mean, as incredibly misogynist, this is what sets them off.
Well, it's, years ago, one of the things that was attractive for me to come to this job was not just the opportunity, but the opportunity for me to be at home when my kids were small. So going on 28 years now. Our kids were young, and it allowed me to be at home during the day. My wife has always worked, with few exceptions. And so, she does very well in her career, and it allowed me to be at home during the day with the kids. If anything came up with school, I could help get them off to school in the morning. I could be there in the afternoon when they got home and all of that. And, the one thing that my wife failed to recognize is the fact that I don't like children. But beyond that, it still gave us an opportunity. And my wife has been very successful as a mother. She's done most, if not all, the heavy lifting and has done such a great job in her professional life. And this is nothing new. Also, stay-at-home moms, full-time stay-at-home moms. My mom had a couple of part-time jobs along the way as my sister and I, the two youngest, my sister's the youngest, I'm second to the youngest, became adolescents. I think it got annoying. I think we annoyed my mom into a part-time job. And so she would, just to keep herself busy. I mean, we were kind of moving on with our extracurricular activities involving school and everything else. And so Mom just kind of jumped into a part-time job, not really out of necessity. I'm sure it helped with the budget. But she did that, but a stay-at-home mom primarily, and did a an unbelievable job. And this is not foreign to people. These ideas are not radical to people.
No.
Only the left can find those comments to be radical, and they're the radicals. And anything outside the norm is radical to them.
Well, nobody was talking about the role he believed that men should play.
Yeah.
How important it is for men to live up to their responsibility and stay in marriages and stay with their children.
Yep.
No one really mentioned that.
Nope.
Part of it at all, the incredible responsibility.
Yeah, be a father to your kids.
That men have. And as we've talked about before, the incredible responsibility that you take on, knowing that if you're going to have children, and believe me, I know, I come from a Catholic family. The number of 5, that was small.
Right.
5 children. So many mothers couldn't work. So the responsibility is the complete trust of a woman that the man will provide.
Yep.
Because she's having babies. It was her choice. My mom worked before she got married. They had 5 kids in, relatively a short period of time.
Yeah.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, was extremely well-read, took flying lessons, did a bunch of different things, and I'm sure I can speak for her. The greatest thing she ever did was have those, raising them.
Oh yeah,
because especially in the teenage years can be tough. But when you succeed and you see the pride they have in their kids, both mothers and fathers, the pride that they feel because of the work that they put in, the sacrifices that they made, and to see that come to fruition is a great moment.
There's not been a day in a long time, I can't remember a day where at least at one point during the day, my wife and I, one of us or the other or both haven't said, my gosh, we're so blessed with our kids. And now our grandkids are, now we've got 3 grandkids that have graduated high school, which is scary. They're driving cars, and it becomes scary. But you look at the people that they are, and we take credit for a lot of the work, but honestly, we also look at the people that they are as individuals. But that comes with building a home, building an environment. It's nothing. It's not easy to do, and nothing is perfect. Mistakes are made along the way, and you get back up on that horse and you correct for whatever mistake that you have made, and you make it right. And those are the things that we've chosen to do as a society. We do it pretty well. And again, it's a normal thing unless you're a radical on the left.
But I'm reading this here from Hoda and Jenna. Hoda saying, there are lots of women that would actually like to stay at home, and because they need the money, they don't have that privilege. And then Jenna Bush kicked in with her liberalism. It's an elitist concept to begin with. He wasn't saying you had to or you were required to.
No.
He was saying this is so. He didn't say that women couldn't hold careers. He didn't say that women might not have to work and raise kids at the same time. He wasn't saying any of those things.
No.
Nope. It's amazing how the public how the left, and I'll put Jenna Bush on the left of this one because you're on the left if you actually don't read what the person says or you lie about what they say.
Yep.
Because it was like, I'm telling you, when I read it, because we read it on, I read it on the air. I said, he didn't say these things they claim he said.
Well, this whole idea that it's an elitist position. Well, what about dads that have to work? I mean, they ignore the reality.
Well, dad works.
If you choose to have a family, if you choose to have a family, it is going to require work. Someone's going to have to go to work, and possibly both of you will have to go to work, but those are also choices.
Or my father. They had kids in rapid succession, knowing my mother would have to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
My father worked 3 jobs at some point.
Yep.
Because it was his
thing.
It was his obligation and responsibility to do it.
Yep. My dad did the same thing.
And I think that's what the kicker was partly was talking about, men's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. You know, my dad always, even with the Trump Make America Great Again, he goes, well, we need to make America great again when you only needed was one job. My father goes, when the hell was that?
When was that?
My dad's 98 going, well, I don't know when that period was of this great time. He said, because it certainly wasn't any of the time when I was growing up.
Yeah.
It's always been hell. And he'll laugh when he says, he goes, it's
Right.
always been hell. He goes, but you have, you've always had to work hard. So is it wrong to say that if you choose as a couple for the mother to stay home because you want children, is it wrong to say the father must work 2 or 3 jobs or whatever is necessary to provide?
Right. Is it wrong to say? But that's the mentality. That is a liberal mentality. Remember the young man that called us years ago, and he had been sitting up all night worrying about how to make ends meet. And he said, that I worked all day, and now I'm staying up all night wondering how to make ends meet. And I suggested, well, if you're going to be up anyway, then why not have a second job? Well, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
It's always been that way.
So he sat up all night listening to us
been that
worrying.
Well, I went by a farm over the weekend. It was on Sunday, actually. They're out there baling hay. It's Sunday. It's a day of rest. No such thing on a farm. You do the work when you can, and you hope that your crop comes in. And sometimes it doesn't, and it's devastating. It's like being fired, except you have to keep going to work, and you're making no money. Things have been hard in our society for a long, long time. That's why they call it work. Except when you condition generation after generation to believe that it's just handed to them, and it should be just handed to you. You should only have to work 8 hours a day. Well, then you've got some choices to make of how you're going to live and how you're going to spend that money that you make in that 8 hours.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Best meme I saw over the weekend. McDonald's now offering 36-month, 0% interest financing on all value meals.
Yeah. I don't know. Can I not get 72 months on that? Can we go 96? Come on. I can't pay off that kind of money. That's another thing, too, that looking at what's going on with retailers and with restaurants, the idea of introducing a temporary value meal or menu for the summer, just trying to get people back in line at your place is a real thing. And, going to the grocery store, it's like, okay, which is the lesser of two evils? You're actually doing the math. Okay, how much would it actually cost me to make the fries and the burger and the special sauce myself? And it just becomes maddening. But it's pretty funny. It's even funnier when you think 36 months, because you're not going to be able to pay that off in 36 months.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.